Guys, we're back here on the Hunter Call the Wild, and today we're going to be doing a Great One fallow guide here in Awaroa. Stick around right to the end of the video, guys. I am going to share a hotspot map showing you exactly where all of my drink zones are for fallow deer here in Awaroa. Now, you won't have exactly the same zones as I do, but they definitely should be similar, and that should help you to find all of your drink zones. I am also going to share a very quick trick that will help you get instant respawns. Now, if you are doing a fallow grind, let me know how it's going in the comments. Let me know what your stats are. I would love to know, and we're gonna head straight into it. So, Awaroa is an amazing map for doing the fallow grind. As you can see, just about every single zone on this map is nice and wide open. The fallow are really easy to spot, and there aren't a huge amount of drink zones. I only have 35 drink zones, and I'm pretty sure I do have all of my zones, if not most of them. So finding your zones on this map will definitely be a faster venture than doing your grind in Australia, where I believe there are 50 to 55 drink zones. So there are bigger herds here. The very first thing you want to do when setting up a fallow grind is find all of your drink zones. When you're looking for your drink zones, what you want to do is carry around tents and tripods. Where are you guys going? Splat. Beautiful. Okay, we got them. Now, the reason why finding all of your drink zones is important is it really does help with getting consistent respawns. And just to really drive home the point how important it is to have all your drink zones. So what happened was I blew out 3 of my fallow solo zones on purpose, at the same time as shooting 3 tiny ones, and we're gonna get into how to deal with solo zones in a moment. But what happened was I continued my grind, figured I'd go find my solo zones after, but the game had other plans for me. What happened was I did my entire rotation and I had absolutely no respawns. There was nothing to shoot. So I decided, okay, let's go look for some zones. So I started in at this tent. Anytime you have a gap, there could be a drink zone show up here, maybe in here. You just don't know where your new solo zones are gonna show up after you have blown out some solo zones. So I ran this little area. I did find 3 drink zones, and immediately I had all the respawns in every single zone and I could continue doing my grind. So missing a few zones can have devastating effects to respawns. And that is a level 4 chocolate, and chocolates are a new uncommon fur variant. Came with the last update, and that is a pretty nice one. Along with white, and that is a level 3. He just about got away, but he did not. So right now we are up in the top 2 lakes in the top right hand corner, and this area is absolutely amazing. Now, unfortunately, I blew a couple zones out on the other side here, and they don't want to come back for me quite yet, but I do have 4 zones here, and as you can see, it's just so nice and wide open. So when I am setting up what I take with me, I only carry 1 weapon. You can use any 4 to 8 when doing the fallow grind. I am using the Zarza 308 because it is my favorite 4 to 8 rifle, and I am using polymers. Now, you also can use the 300 to kill deer that don't matter, and use the 308 to kill trophy animals, diamonds, and rares, and I've actually started doing that since I filmed the first part of this video. I am using the Hyperion sight, I do have the Antler Rattler to call them in, and then I have the Apex View binoculars, and I do have tents and tripods. That's all I carry with me. When you're looking for your zones, you're going to find fallow basically this area. That's where they're going to be. They're not going to be any other place on the map. So every piece of water in this area needs to be checked. Okay, so since I filmed the first part of this video, I did find 2 more zones down here, so I have 6 zones. This is one of the very best spots on the map. If you have good zones here, you could almost exclusively do your grind on these 2 lakes. That's how crazy these 2 lakes are. Now you're gonna find 1 zone in Pukamaro, just 1, and then you need to run the bottom of the coast all the way up the river right to about here, and then come all the way back and then follow the coastline right down until you get out of Render. So you can see those are all fallow zones. All of these are all fallow zones. The river is really, really good, a really great spot to set up as well. And then we do have fallow at this lake here. I have 4 zones, and all along the right-hand side of Lake Wakati, and those are all fallow drink zones as well. There's 6 zones there. They really do have the zones nice and condensed. It's just way faster to get through a grind in Awaroa, just way faster. Now, in order to set up on my zones with tents and tripods, what I do is literally run to each lake, or I run the rivers and spot into the distance. I listen for mating calls or warning calls and go in that direction. Sometimes you can use tracks to find zones if you're having a hard time finding them, or pick up need zone indicators. Those will all help you to find your zones. Now, if you feel like you have checked everywhere that fallow could be and you still don't have enough drink zones, what I would recommend doing is rerunning all of your water sources a second time. I find that zones come out in stages. All of your drink zones for fallow might not be there the very first time you look, so running them a second time will definitely help you to find more zones. And I would say if you do have at least 30 zones here in Awaroa, you're probably good to start, and if you don't get respawns, you just need to get out and find more zones. Now, when I'm looking for my zones, I carry around tents and tripods, and when I find a zone that I want to set up on, I do drop a tent and a tripod, so that way I am setting up on the go, because it's really tough to remember where your best zones are. That way you mark them, and that is the best use of your time. And we got them. So you want to set up on zones as your main shooting lakes that have bigger deer, large 3s and 4s. Those are the best spots. Now, when I'm setting up my tents, what I literally do is mark the zone, run in the opposite direction, and I drop the tent at exactly 250 meters away from the zone. That way I don't spook anything when I come in, and they render in perfectly. And I like to drop my tripod within 200 meters. That way they can hear the call. You have to be within 200 meters for the fallow to hear the antler rattler. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So anywhere between 150 and 200 meters for the tripod, you should be able to run right in without spooking them. Although animals are definitely spooking sooner from running since the last update, so just be aware of that. Now, whenever you can use a tent for more than one zone, that is what you want to do, because we can only use 16 tents on the map at a time and 32 tripods. That is the max that we can put on the map. Right here, I have a tent here, I do have a zone here, and a zone here. Now, unfortunately, they are very close together, so whenever I shoot at one, the other one is going to spook. So what I can do is hit this zone early in the rotation, hit one of the zones, the other one will spook, and then come back later and get the other one, because they will come back into their zone eventually. Now, in my grind, I personally am shooting the level 3s and 4s, and of course the 5s. So if I am set up on a zone and I come back and all I find are really little ones, I will actually pull my tent and tripod and set up on a different zone. Beautiful. Now, I'm not going to get into herd management in today's video, but I will leave a link to how to herd manage fallow in the description below and the card at the end of the video. And you are going to see some bunny rabbits and another chocolate, level 4, and a level 3 spotted. Haven't found a white yet. So if you are doing just a simple grind, you do not have to use herd management in order to spawn a great one. What I would recommend doing at the beginning is setting up on as many zones as you can, and you want to be shooting those 3s and 4s. I mean, you can just shoot all males if you wish, and a great one will still spawn, but if you shoot the 3s and the 4s, and leave the little ones, you probably are going to spawn more diamonds and probably bigger rares. Now, if you do choose to shoot the 3s and the 4s, eventually when you come back to some of your zones, you're going to find really tiny deer. So that is when you can actually pull your tent and tripod and set up on another zone, or you can use your tent as a pickup tent, because some of these spots are tough to pick up your deer, and having a pickup tent is just going to save you a huge amount of time. Now, let me show you what I am grinding on right now. I actually have mostly solos up here, unfortunately, so I'm only grinding on 2 zones up here. This zone right here, these 2 right here, using 1 tent, this zone here, this zone out here, these 2 zones here, and these 2 zones right here. Now, the zones along the coast are the most difficult to see, so I wouldn't recommend using them as a main shooting lake. If you are using herd management, you will want to shoot these down as soon as possible. And what I mean by shooting down is get them to have only small deer in them. And I guess I am talking a little bit about herd management, but I just want to help the people who are doing it. And if you don't want to do it, that's totally okay too. But whether you are or you are not using herd management, you want to get to as many zones as you can during one time rotation. I am killing 2 deer per zone, and you want to kill the biggest 2 possible. Now, you don't have to use tripods. They do definitely protect your zones. When you're using a tripod, you can shoot 15 animals and the 16th will then delete the zone. And when you delete a zone, it will reappear somewhere else on your map and you are gonna have to re-find it. Without a tripod, you can only kill 3 and the 4th kill will delete the zone, so you definitely have to be more careful, but it definitely can be done. And of course, you're gonna make a lot of cash on this grind because you're constantly shooting and harvesting animals, and you can add tripods later. I do highly recommend that when you do shoot animals that you do harvest every single one. When you don't pick up your kills, you can still spawn diamonds and rares and even super rares, but it does seem like EW has changed the coding, and people who don't pick up kills in the last little while have not been spawning great ones. So it definitely can slow down the spawn rate of your great ones. So definitely be picking up those kills. And when you use the 300, it just eliminates the need to track. They just don't go very far, and of course, it doesn't matter if they're a gold or a silver. All we need is a respawn. And of course, if a trophy does spawn, I will be using the Zarza 308 to shoot it. Now, you definitely do not need to grind on all of your zones. If you're doing a grind without herd management, pick 10 of your best zones and just rotate on them for your grind. I would still recommend shooting those mid-levels. Now, if you are using herd management, you're gonna have 10 main zones and 6 exterior zones, and people ask me and get confused all the time on what you're supposed to shoot and where. You still wanna be shooting level 3s and level 4s from every single zone. Okay. So let's talk about solo zones. So whenever you see a buck by itself, or even several bucks together, if there are no females, those are all actually solos, but they have congregated together. Now, when you shoot any deer out of a solo zone, that zone is going to vanish and reappear somewhere else on the map, and we just don't know where, and you are going to have to re-find it. So what I would recommend doing is leave all your solos for a while. If you are doing herd management, wait till you do have some diamonds stacked. And then on a fresh game startup, meaning you haven't shot anything in your game yet, what you want to do is go around and shoot the solos. Now, you don't want to shoot every solo. You're only going to be shooting large 3s and level 4s out of solos because you want to get those bigger deer into your main shooting lakes. So before you do it, go to a zone with level 2s. Shoot equal amounts of level 2s to the amount of solos that you're going to blow out. So if you're planning on blowing out 3 solos, shoot 3 level 2s, and then go and shoot and harvest the solos, leave the game and come back. They have a 50-50 chance of swapping zones. And then you definitely need to find those zones again, or you probably are going to have problems with respawns. Those solo zones are definitely a pain in the neck, but honestly, if you're doing a non-herd management grind, I would just ignore them unless you have really, really big deer in them. Okay, so here is my Awaroa map. I have orange dots where I currently have drink zones for fallow, and the black dots are where I have had zones in the past. So you can have zones anywhere in this area. It all needs to be checked to find all of your drink zones for fallow. When I come into the map, I change the time. I usually actually start my rotation at 11:30. I find the further you are into the time zone, the greater the likelihood the deer are going to be at their zones. Okay, I'm going to share with you a trick that is going to save you so much time, and that is the 1-minute trick. So when you come to a zone and you have absolutely nothing there, they're here. Oh my gosh, guaranteed diamond, look at that. But if you actually have nothing here, what you want to do is go back to your tent. Now this is expensive, but it will save you so much time, and simply go and rest. Put the time forward by 1 minute. Now I don't actually need to do it right now, but that's what I would do. And when you come back, you should have deer in their zones. It doesn't work every single time, but it works the majority of the time, and it is going to save you so much time, and it works for all species. So definitely try that out if you are struggling to get deer into their zones. Now, if the problem is that you don't have enough zones, you're definitely gonna have to go and find your zones. But that is it in a nutshell. That is how to get a great one in T Awaroa, and I really hope that does help you guys out. If you would like to learn how to get a great one in Australia, click right here. And if you did enjoy the video, guys, hit that like button. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will definitely see you guys in the next one.